And good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of GMAT Club's YouTube Debriefs. My name is Evan, also known by my forum name, Nightblade354, and I want to thank everyone who was patient with us as we got started about 5 minutes later than we expected. Do not blame our lovely participant here. That was on me. I had technical issues. Shocker. I am not infallible and without fault and without issues. It's a disappointment to most of you, I know. We shall live with it. I want to thank everyone joining us today. We have a fantastic and truly interesting YouTube debrief this morning. I don't know. Wait, how do I pronounce your name?
It's Vu.
Vu. Okay, I didn't want to make any assumptions. Vu
No
has
problem.
graciously agreed to join us. He has a remarkable story, which you will hear about over the next hour or so. And frankly, I couldn't be more excited to have him on here. So, Vu, why don't you introduce yourself, and then I'll give some high, broad view remarks, and we'll dive into the debrief. We'll dive into the interview.
Thank you, Evan. I take it from here. Hello, everyone. My name is Vu. It's a pretty short name, and I'm come from Vietnam, and right now I'm living in the capital, which is Hanoi. And I have been studying for the GMAT. I mean, I'm done studying for the GMAT last July. So until the time I was done, I was studying for 2 years ish. And before that, I was studying in the United States, and I majored in hotel industry and psychology. And I decided to take a GMAT. It was a long story, but basically, I decided to take a GMAT in 2020. But only now that I was successful.
So, folks, for those keeping track, 2020, it's out 2023. That's 3 years. So, for anyone who is familiar with this programming, who usually comes on here and watches someone do a debrief where they got a 750 in 3 months, surprise, that is a very unusual occurrence. Vu's experience, although maybe unique, is not completely out of the realm of possibility for most of the folks on here, and hopefully you can relate to it a little bit better. A couple of keynotes before we dive into grilling Vu here and his incredible score. One, this is a completely agenda-free show. I know last time I was on here, some of you may have witnessed me going off on target test prep and maybe thinking that they had unfairly put somebody on here and basically wanted it to be a giant advertisement. Case in point, this show was meant to be agenda-free, meaning I encourage Vu, although he did self-study, to not hold back in any way, shape, or form on criticisms or applause for anything he found useful or completely ridiculously useless. We have many sponsors on GMAT Club. I like to rip them all. So please, if you are going to believe any stories, if you're going to believe any form of endorsement, please let it be from this show and nothing else, because we are all about the truth here. If you have questions for Vu, please save them for the end. And by that, I mean, put them in the comment section, which should be somewhere over here based on my screen. Type them in. If I don't get to that question during my usual back and forth with Vu, I will try my best to get to your question and to call it out as we're kind of doing here. I'm not controlling that. That's my producer. So I apologize. Again, I'm not a shill, I promise. And lastly, I encourage all of you to take this debrief in stride, knowing that if this is something that applies to you, if you can relate to it, let it be an inspirational item for you. Let it help you power through your studies. We all go through different journeys. We all go through different studying trials. None of it is fun. Hopefully, Vu here can give you some confidence and some momentum to that. So, Vu, long introduction there. I apologize. Let's get to the good stuff, which is why people are here. And let's start with, you've decided to take the GMAT. You want to do it in 2020. What was the first thing you did after you decided to take the GMAT? Was it setting a timetable? And if so, what was that timetable in terms of your score and your goal of it? So did you want a 720 in 8 months? Did you want a 700 in a year? To tell us what you did at the very beginning to get that ball rolling on your journey.
Thank you, Evan. So I got to be honest. I spent exactly one first 2 months just looking up, like find out about the details about the GMAT, like such as what that is, how long was the test, and what is my. I don't even care about the dream school. I just know like what is the test consisted of, the RC, the SC, and where would be the best place for me to like the GMAT club. I found that after 2 weeks of
Yeah.
planning. Yeah, it was a long time, but I found that, and then I just start sitting down and just breaking down like how would I divide my time. I know that they have like math, I mean quant, and people don't like me saying math, quant and verbal and IR and AWA, which is 4 sections. And I spent the first like 1 month just like detailing my plan and decided like how would I spend my time on it. I know that I decided to self-study because for numerous reasons. First of all, I at that time I was in no rush, and the type of patience that I want to spend was not of my first come in my mind. And the second thing is, I think that this one was not so hard. Oh, I was so wrong about that. After 3 years, it was a long journey, and basically that's two main reasons.
So tell me, you said that first couple of months you were just looking into how you were going to approach the exam, learn all you can about it. And then the next
Yep.
month you decided, here's how I'm going to actually approach it. Can you tell me what you learned by exploring for a month or two, and subsequently how you decided in your first attempt to study for the exam? So what was the strategy that you implemented?
Oh, I was using the wrong strategy. Like I would
Exactly.
try.
That is what I want to hear.
Okay, so first of all, I saw a lot of information because I did not know then that the GMAT was around for more than a decade. And that means you guys had a lot of information that I would like to absorb, but I couldn't. And I would try sitting down, study, like cramming everything and anything into my mind with no structure at all. That was a huge mistake for me. It cost me a year.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was a very big mistake. But basically, I go on to GMAT Club. I click on the official questions and I try to do them all. Um, Probably I try to do like 2 hours a day and 3 hours on the weekends. I try to cram it all I could, but it was not go well. I scored a 27 verbal on the test after 1 year of studying, and although I got a 50 quant, but it was also a long journey for me.
Okay, so I want to hear about, again, the wrong ways you were studying. You came to GMAT Club, you studied for an entire year. What was your average day?
So my average day I could spend 2 hours in the morning
Mhm.
from before lunch 9 to 11, and in the afternoon I would spend 2 hours from 3 to 5 p.m. And at night I would spend 2 more hours. That would be from 6 to 8. So that would mean 6 hours every day, not including breaks. So would be 8 to even 9 hours of studying.
Okay, so that is a huge amount of studying, to say the
Yeah.
least.
Yep.
But as this test will show, and as I think many of you on here will understand, it is about quality, not quantity. So you're studying 8 to 9 hours a day. Are you working full time in conjunction with this, or are you just studying?
Back then I was working part time, so 4 hours
Okay.
every day too.
Okay, so you're working part time. You're studying 8 9 hours a day. Tell me about the how you're approaching study, because again, it is all self prep right now. Were you doing 10 RC, 10 CR, 10 SC, and then reviewing, and then in the afternoon doing quant? Were you? I mean, well, how was the average day for you in terms of the actual studying?
I got you. So the first thing that with self-studying was that I did not know how to study. So the first thing I do was not studying. I went and read debrief of other people, and I read and I followed their advices. And different people they have different opinions. I try to follow them all, and
Ooh,
it
ooh.
was a big mistake for me. I don't know what to listen, what to follow. That is a very big disadvantage of self-studying, but later down the road it would help me, but I will explain later. But the average day I would spend uh, as much as I can to read debrief, and I would note down how people were studying, and I would try the approach for a week or 2 weeks.
Mhm.
And if I do not see any result or increase in my verbal score, I would stop and then read another debrief, and that basically just copying other people, and I do not formulate my own formula for myself.
Okay, so you were trying to view a best in class approach to figure out what worked best for you, and it wasn't working. You were continuously restarting your process.
not only restarting, I actually my score got worse. I don't know
Okay, so your
why.
score was getting worse. And by the way, what did you start with? Did you take a mock test and see what your score
Yeah,
was?
I did one. I know that the GMAT official offer two. I took one. The first one I got a 44 quant and oof, a 21 verbal, I think. And I skipped the
Okay.
IR and IWI because it was too long for me. I couldn't handle it.
Okay. 44 and 21. Those are our starting points.
Yep.
You spend a year with this eclectic mess of going from study plan to study plan, doing various forms of studying through GMAT Club. You're burning through questions left and right. And there are a limited number of OGs that you can use.
Yep.
You spend a year doing this. Throughout the year, did you try and measure your progress, or were you just every couple of weeks saying, well, I'm going to start something new, and then after, if it works, I'll do a mock. If not, I'll just pick up again and see where I stand?
Well, I didn't know then that there are different GMAT companies. So I only assumed that you guys only have two tests, right? So I took the first one and I'm going to save the last one for the very end. So I did not take any more tests whatsoever. I just do, let's say, difficulty apart. If I do 10 RC, I used to get one correct. Now I got five correct. So I guess I was getting better. That is the only measure that I measure myself.
Which can be
And
incredibly dangerous and inaccurate.
oh, trust me, it is dangerous and inaccurate.
So tell me then, during this study period, what were some of the things that you were doing that you look back on and say it was such a mistake? So you were implementing different studying strategies. Of those strategies, what do you feel were some of the biggest takeaways and mistakes from each of them?
I love this question because I got to be confessed that I did all of the OG on the GMAT Club within a year. I remember most of them now, and I read almost all of the debrief on the GMAT Club. So I know what they did right, what they did wrong, and I have a long list of that. But if it comes top of my mind, the top three things could be you do not build a solid foundation, and you just like starting right away with the questions. That was a huge mistake because there is only so many questions that you can do, and if you do not have the foundation, then you're gonna waste them all. And the human minds, they cannot forget what they learn. So yeah, there's nothing you can do about that. If you make a mistake, then hopefully your memory got worse, so that you can forget and redo them all. And the second mistake is that burning out. If you study every day for 6 or 9 hours, 6 or 7 hours, even 8 or 9 hours, you will get destroyed. And even if you're working full time, you need at least like 2 days off. But when I'm studying, I do not take any day off. And I thought that if I keep studying, then one day I will get to my score faster. But it was a huge mistake. And the last one, I would say, you do not learn from your mistake. Like you just like doing the question and you do not asking yourself, why did I get this one wrong? And that is a very important, just simple one, because like people just doing one after one and they do not understand how they got wrong. And they do even know how to ask themselves that. So you need to, no rush, just take it slow because like I got to be honest, you're not going to study for the GMAT for your whole life. So make it count while it lasts. And it will last short, not long as you expected.
So those 3 points you just made are so incredibly important and so crucial to someone who needs to do well. And it seems obvious, but you don't. So in order to learn from your mistakes, how do you do that? You have to review. You have to blind review. Blind review is something that I'm sure either you did it without knowing it, or you may have read it from somebody on the forum. I explained it in great detail in my CR guide. If you're not reviewing and getting the most out of the question, you're absolutely wasting it. If
Exactly.
you're studying 9 hours a day, that's fine. That's quantity. It's not quality, meaning you're, again, wasting the day. These are such huge pillars. And yet
And
people
yeah, people
often...
forget. Yeah, they forget about that.
It really is fascinating because a lot of people have the same problem. They don't know how to study. And it sounds like you did too. So it sounds like you were probably doing questions. You were then looking at them and figuring out like, oh, I got this right. Oh, you know what? That was a stupid mistake. Okay, I'll move on. I'll get it right next time when I see it worded this
Yeah.
way. And the problem is the test knows that you think that way.
Yep, they're
Which is
gonna
why
trick you.
exactly. Which is why you need to go back to your first point, which is a solid foundation. You need to know the basics. You need to be able to know how, the rules of square roots and squares, and you need to know all the fundamental items that we learned in middle school or elementary school in the beginning of high school. Because if you don't, it's not enough just to say, okay, well, if I see this and this type of formula again, I'll know that I can do this, this, and this and get it right. No, the test is going to trip you up because they know that's how you've been programmed to study in school.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to take a wild guess here and say your first year of studying, that was what you were doing. You were running through questions. You kind of said, okay, I get it, or no, I don't. But you know what? Again, simple mistake, or I can kind of see it. Therefore, I don't need to review every answer. I've got this. Does that sound about right?
Yeah. And then most of them, I was like, you know what? This one is not that hard. It's just careless. Actually, it's not careless. It's that I don't have a foundation, but I did not know that then.
Those revelations, I'm so glad we hit it in the first 15 minutes, are so key to someone needing to do well. So you spent a year studying hellaciously, inaccurately, morbidly. I could go on and on with adjectives that would continue to hammer home the point that there are zoo monkeys who potentially were studying more effectively than you were. Myself included, by the way. I fell in the same trap. Because I was a blind man in a desert. I had no idea where to go. And most people are too. So this is not exclusive to you. You've been drilling for a year. Why did you take the first test? Was it just to see where you were? Was it to say, you know what? I think I'm close enough. I'm getting a lot of these right. And by the way, were you timing yourself, or were you just taking practice questions and just saying, oh, I got it right or I got it wrong?
Oh, that was also the fourth mistake I was about to mention. I timed myself exactly. I forgot about that. I have a lot of mistakes, like 50 or 51 of them. That's a long list. So I timed myself to the seconds. Every quant exactly 2 minutes. Every verbal exactly I think 150 seconds. Oh boy, that was a huge mistake as well. Because
why?
Oh, I'm gonna give you 1,000 reasons, but the top reason I can think of my head right now is if you do not know the foundations and if you time yourself, you're gonna time yourself to fail. Because there's no way you're gonna understand the
Damn
question.
straight.
Yep, exactly, yeah, man. Then if you just time it, man, if you just spend the time and understand the question, and the time will come eventually. There's no rush in life, as in question in GMAT as well. No need to go anywhere fast.
So I think I found a fifth. So we had our fourth mistake. I think I have a fifth for you, which is that you were spending a year studying. You didn't take any practice tests to build your endurance for a real test.
Oh yeah, I was. My stamina was very low.
You had no idea what you're getting yourself into because you were doing practice
I did not know.
questions and then you took breaks, or you were giving your mind time to reset. And even, folks, for those who are watching, even studying 8 hours a day, you're taking breaks. Your mind isn't constantly running. That if you're studying 8 hours a day, that's a marathon, or that's more of a marathon. With the GMAT, the real thing, timed, that's a sprint. You can't stop. You cannot relax for a minute.
I studied for the wrong race. I did not know that for a year.
So you've studied a year. So we're into 2021 now. And you're probably... so let me now ask, why did you pull the trigger on the first test?
The first real test?
Yes.
I got you. Because at that time then, 1 year, like I told you, I studied all the question, OG. I read all the debrief. And I mean, there's nothing for me to do anymore. So I need to take the test. But I know I got a feeling that I'm going to fail. But I need to go in there anyway.
So your rationale was, well, I'm out of material, so screw it, I'm going to do it anyways.
Exactly, because I read some of the debriefs that like if you practice the OG, you should not practice the non-OG. So out of OG, I go to the test.
Of all the terrible reasons I have heard, that may be one of the worst.
Oh, trust me, it's the worst.
That is abysmal. That is catastrophic. Oh man. Wow. And I don't mean to make fun of you, but holy cow, that is a
No,
terrible
trust me.
reason.
I wish I had known better, man. But nobody's there to tell me, and I learned that myself very hard way.
Okay, so and by the way, someone is sympathetic to your plight. They're saying it's okay. Shrek has come down from
It's
his
not
high
okay.
mountain, from his swamp to say that it's okay. And Shrek,
No,
I
it's not
appreciate
okay.
you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So you've taken the test for your shadow resources. Again, you felt uneasy about it, to say the least, which is, again, trust your gut. Your gut was telling you you're not ready, and you weren't. Walk me through your first test experience.
Oof, I still have nightmares sometimes about that. I'm not gonna lie. So the first thing that I forgot that the GMAT test has the IR and the AWA. I forgot about that totally.
Oh,
So when I
you
walk
ignored the last two components of it. Wow.
Exactly. I forgot about that for a year. So when I take into the real test, I don't know even that those exist. So I took the quant first because I knew that my quant was so much stronger than my verbal. It was a human mistake too because I should have taken the verbal first because I would run out of stamina. I didn't know that then. And after I finished all the quant, 31 question, I got 10 minutes to spare. I feel exhausted. There's no way I'm going to finish the test, but I need to push myself. And
10
I
minutes
take
to spare. That's a lot of time to leave on a section.
Yeah, on quant only, but on verbal, it's a marathon, and I need to catch up on time. But the quant, yes. So I took a 5 minute break and took onto the verbal, and oh man, I still remember the first one. The first 4 question was a long RC. It was like my brain just stopped and my eye got teary because I'm reading the computer, and my brain just stopped. And after that, I pretty much got the whole 4 question wrong. I'm very sure, even though I know that the first question were medium difficulty because there's no way they're going to give you the hard one at the start.
Starting with a long RC in verbal, it's like starting a race in sand. You just feel like you're not getting out of the gate fast enough.
Exactly. I mean, on that part, I feel unlucky because like there's no way I'm gonna know. After that, I got I think 6 or 7 CR question in a row. Oh man, it was so long too, and it was very unlucky. And then I remember that the last 8 or 9 questions they all SC. They stack them all at the end, and I do RC, CR, RC, CR, RC, and maybe 1 or 2 SC, in between. But it's very not a lot. And I think I abandoned 5 of the last questions. Just pick OA. I don't think I get any of that correct. And after that, I thought I finished. Oh boy, you need to take an 8 minute break to do the AWA and IR. And I was like, huh? Do they have that 2 sections, man? And then yeah, I actually gave out the time, man.
I think there's something wrong with my test. It's saying I have more to
They
do
gave
here.
me 2 more sections, man. It's not fair. And then I still remember I did the IR first, and oh man, the math and the table and the data, they're a lot. They cram my eyes and my brain. I got 2 on the IR, and the AWA, I followed the format on the GMAT Club. I got a 5. So that is basically
okay.
The 5 was the highest one I can get on the whole test that I'm proud of.
Yeah, 5's not bad, but that IR of a 2 definitely a little bit low.
Oh yeah, it's very low, trust me. And I got the 27 verbal and the 50 quant.
All right, there we go. So you did well on math. You were abysmal on verbal. You sat there and said, I've spent a year. I've exhausted my resources. What'd you do when you walked out of the test? What were you thinking? How were you feeling? Walk us through that.
Oh, it was an emotional trauma. I sat there for 5 minutes and I was like, oh man, that is the result of my 1 year. I mean, I don't know what to do to improve my score because like I learned them all and there's nothing more I can do. That was I thought about then. And I walked home very sad. I sat for the whole week after that. And oh man, I lost some weight. And that was the best way to lose weight. No need to exercise, just be sad and depressed.
Okay, so you were
Yeah.
battling basically clinical depression.
No, I don't think that's clinical, but just like about the test score.
Okay, I'm not a doctor. I can't diagnose. But so you spend 2 months, you're obviously upset, you're feeling defeated.
Only a week though. After that, I need to do. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I thought it was a couple months.
Oh no, 2 months of depressed will. I don't know, man.
Right, that's
It
why I
was.
say clinical depression. I'm like, that's a long time. Okay, so you spent a week.
Yeah, only a week.
So you spent a week, you were upset. What did you do at the end of that week to either feel better, to get back up on the horse, and then to reconsider studying? How did you flip that switch again?
I always give everybody and myself a second chance. So I know that by the time I finish the first test, I know that I forgot some of the questions.
Okay.
So my approach that I thought that was the best then was, you know what, we did all of the oldest one that I did, and I'm going to sign up for the under test for in 3 months, and I learned nothing from in those 3 months, and I went in the same battle with the same test, but this time I knew that I had to do the IWA and the IR. So I got the same score.
So wait. You battled a week of depression. You do the same thing.
Yep, same thing, same time, and same hours.
Same hours, same thing, same outcome.
Yep, and I was
Who could
not.
have guessed that?
Trust me, it was not the smartest thing to do, but you know what? Now that I reflect back then, I think my biggest mistake was not that I don't. Of course, I did not have any foundation at all, but my mindset was always in a rush. I rush to go to work. I rush to wake up, and I have like work 4 hours. I need to go home and study right away, and I rush everything. And in every like verbal question that I did not even read the whole question, the whole prompt, and I just like read one question and say, "What this one sounds pretty good. I'm gonna pick that one because I don't have any time," and that killed me in 1.5 years with the two test score because my mindset was not in the right place. It was always in a rush, and I knew that a lot of our audience will have the same mindset with me because they also have to work full time, study full time. They have families, responsibilities, and a lot of things to worry about. And yeah, that was the only thing that holding me back. But I did not know about that, about my mindset, until 2023 of March. It was.
So if I can unpack that a bit.
Yep.
So two things did come from you taking the test. One, you knew, well, a couple things. You knew that you knew your verbal was weak. You knew that your timing strategies were off. You knew that your study habits in general were not getting you to the goal that you wanted. So
Exactly.
that was the first big takeaway. And I would say probably the second big takeaway, and this is important for everyone here. Everyone is busy, ladies and gentlemen. You are not, I don't want to sound mean here, but you are not unique if you are dealing with kids, if
Yeah.
you're working a full-time job and you're studying during your lunch break and then staying up till midnight reviewing.
Exactly.
Every single person studying for the test, more or less, given that we are of an older variety, business school students tend to be older, they are going through very similar process of life. And you have to sacrifice. This test does not come easy. It requires sacrifice in one component of your life. It's either going to be sleep. It's going to be friendships. It's going to be work. Maybe your work suffers a little bit. It's going to be personal time and exercise, or it's going to be your hobbies or watching TV. Some big part of your life is going to have to fall to the wayside for a period of time for you to commit enough time and resources to study. It's a huge realization. And if you're not willing to accept that, you're not willing to accept that this is your dream and you're not willing to sacrifice enough to get to your dream. But Vu, that is not your problem. You've sacrificed plenty.
Oh yeah, and it didn't go anywhere. So the problem is, it's not that you spend the time, but you need to spend the time wisely.
It crucial. And by the way, for anyone who's thinking about business school, I will be attending literally a month from today. start my MBA program, so I'm excited about that. There are 3 legs of an MBA program: social, recruiting and networking, and academic. I've been told by every student I've met, you get 2 of 3. So even in business school, you sacrifice. Take the studying portion that you're doing now with the GMAT as a prep for what you're going to have to go through in business school.
Mm-hmm.
But enough of that aside. So you've now spent a year and a half studying. You haven't gotten anywhere near where you want to be. You've been self-studying. You've been basically just doing questions nonsensically. You haven't had a game plan. It's just been pound questions, and hopefully it sticks in your brain, which is what every high school, middle schooler, and elementary schooler is taught. Just keep repeating. Eventually it gets stuck in there.
Mm-hmm.
After the second test, how did you feel and what did you do?
I gave up. Totally, man.
I wasn't okay, you gave up. Wasn't expecting that. And by the way, for anyone watching, I meant to say this at the beginning. I don't read debriefs. It's because all of you don't read debriefs, and I don't want to carry any information over from the debrief that maybe you folks don't know or understand. I'm also a little bit lazy in reading very long debriefs, which will play absolutely wonderfully in business school. Me being lazy enough to not read a 2-page paper, but deal with that a little bit later. So when I ask these questions and I pull out information and I'm surprised, no, that's not me acting. I'm not going to win an Emmy or a Grammy or whatever the stupid awards are for actors and actresses. That's the real outcome. That's real emotion. But okay, so you gave up. You gave up. You said, screw it. I'm done. A year and a half. I don't care about the sunk cost. Done. What did you do once you gave up?
Oh, now we get to the interesting part. So
now we get to the interesting part. We're a half hour in. we're at the bottom of the well and we're a half hour in, and now we're getting to the juicy stuff.
You had to build stuff up, man. Okay, so I remember that my second test was on July the 4th, which was the American Independence Day, right?
Yes, by the way, happy 4th of July. It is Independence Day this weekend. So
exactly.
Happy 4th of July to all my American compatriots. I can't say patriots because that comes off as like MAGA Republican, and that's not what we're aiming for here. But
American fellows.
Anyways, happy 4th of July. Please continue.
Yeah, so I finished that, and after I saw my score. I got a Quant 51 though, but my verbal got 27, which was lower than my verbal 31 in the first attempt. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, you know what, business school was not for me. I decided that then was not for me because I did not have the GMAT score high enough, and I think that my approach was not ideal. So
Can I interject for a second?
Yeah.
So. Is it, and by the way, a lot of students come to this sort of moment too at the all is lost point. Is it that you thought business school wasn't for you, or was it that you thought the test was such a huge obstacle that it was going to prohibit you as the gatekeeper from getting to that school?
That was one of the reasons. The main reason was that I knew that if I could not even study for the entrance test, which was the GMAT, then how could I study well in the business school? Because I know that they have heavier workload, they have more stuff to do. If I could not handle the GMAT now, then I would set myself for failure in business school.
But obviously very different. So for anyone who's watching this now, there is a difference between the GMAT study and MBA study. Like MBA math is not the GMAT. So for everyone thinking that too, like wrong. Like MBA math is going to be very similar to like high school and college. It's going to be repetition, and you don't necessarily need the quote unquote foundation of basics.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that was a rationale. You're all is lost. Can I ask before we hear more? Was business school your dream? Was it absolutely your dream prior to starting your studies?
I wouldn't say that. I would just say business school was my next step, one of my next steps in my life. So it was not my dream.
I was hoping you were going to say yes, but I know what, I can live with it. I was going to give a raw speech to that, but okay, I'll save it. So you've said twice you're all is lost. You're saying, you know what? Maybe business school is not for me.
Yeah,
What
no, I
did
knew
you?
that it was not for me.
Well, you knew in that moment. Clearly, you
Yeah.
were wrong. I love when
Oh yeah,
people
trust
prove
me.
themselves
If I be
wrong.
right, I would not be here.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't be here with me having this fun conversation on YouTube.
Hmm.
So now tell me what happened in to get you back to saying, you know what, this is it. This is what I'm gonna do no matter what. How did you change your viewpoint from screw it to bring it on?
Um, yeah. So I stopped my GMAT studying in 2022, July the 5th. Actually, July the 4th. It was July the 4th, and
A
I gave
little
up.
Independence Day. You freed yourself.
Yep, I freed myself. It was ironic. And then I gave up, and I decided then that business school was not for me, and I just decided to take a break from life. And I took a break from July until February this year. It was a long break, and I was proud to say that I spent the time there to travel and to contemplate myself because like I had nothing to do.
Okay, so you spent 8 months traveling and doing some self-reflection and introspection.
Yep, traveling and reflection. And let me tell you, um, in our hectic life, if we not spend the time to think back about one of many things that we did when what we did wrong, we will not get anywhere in life because like sooner or later, you will need to sit with yourself in the dark, like for example, before you sleep, and think about um, what could I do to improve my some of my action in the past. And I spent a lot of time thinking, and I knew then that I was always in a rush.
You
So
spent a lot
I
of time thinking in a not to make fun of this, but did you go to a cave? Like, did you do
Kev,
what
no, 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 no.
did you
I
do
just
what Aaron Rodgers did, who's an American football player, just like dig himself into the ground in like a hotel and just like go into a like darkness retreat? Oh,
I did not go to the cave, but I did leave the city, and I tried to go to the mountain and live with the Tibet monks.
wait, what?
Wait, what? So
wait. No, I was kidding with the cave. Wait, I was pretty darn close. You went to live with Tibetan monks
you know what? Like
in the
in my
cave,
country,
or I'm sorry, in the
no, no,
mountains.
yeah. So in my country, they have like courses and classes with the monk, where you can spend, let's say, a week, 4 weeks, a month, or even as long as you like, as long as you do the temple chores and you contribute.
I uh, I I should see this. Why you know what? I should have read the debrief. I could have had a lot more questions around this, and now I'm completely lost. um. Okay, so walk us through what you learned, when you were with these monks, because you said you took some time to just kind of black out, and not black out literally, but go dark and try and figure out life and slow down. So tell us about this experience. Tell us how it helped you come together.
Yeah. So about that, I decided to go to live with the monks. And at first, I just simply think that, maybe I just spend here a week, enjoy the mountainside, and go back to the city, take a short break. But the funny thing is, when you live like remotely, you give up your phone, your connections, and you just have yourself with your mind and your brain, and you have nothing but to think, to reflect, and to contemplate. And it was then that I realized a lot of things about my life. Um, First, it was there's no rush in life because like we all have we all have to go to the same goals at the end. So if you rush now, you just go there faster, which was which not the goal in life. So I would spend the morning, um, just walking around, helping with the temperatures, and slow down and forget about everything that has burdened me because I know that they're gonna come back eventually. But right now, I chose not to deal with them then, And after a week, actually after 3 days, I felt, I know, like a different person. Have you guys ever been like, do not use your computers or your phones for 3 days and just think and reflect upon yourself? Then you will find that life is so much meaningful. And I know that not only the GMAT, but having changing my mindset to mindfulness, you also have a chance to conquer anything in life, not only the GMAT. If you slow down, you know yourself, you know your enemies, and then you walk in the battle, and then you walk into the battle, you will win. You know that for sure. Because like Bruce Lee said that, I fear not the man who practiced 1,000 kicks, but I fear the man who practiced a kick 1,000 times. But if you guys had never sit back and live slowly, then you will not find that inner peace of yourself. Like Bill Gates, I know that Bill Gates, he went to India to search for inspiration before like he worked with Apple, and even Einstein, back in the day, he worked a menial jobs at the clerk for 4 years when he discovered the theory of relativity.
Relativity.
Yeah, that's the one. And you know what? You guys don't need to go to the church or the temple like me. You guys can just sleep slowly because I know that you guys have stuff to do, you have family. You cannot just abandon everything. But just try to spend as much as you can in any moment of your life, in your daily life. Just live slowly a little bit. There's no rush in life, you know.
This had a tremendous impact not only on your studying, but
I did not study until March.
no,
So
I understand that, but on your on the way you approach studying, it had a tremendous impact on you as a person. This spiritual, I don't want to call it an awakening, but this spiritual realization sounds like it's going to carry you through the rest of your life. How centered you became and how aware you became of yourself.
yep, I would say that.
And that can be incredible, not only for test taking, which can help with anxiety, it can help, again, study and make you aware of the directions you want to go. You have such a clear understanding of who you are and what you want. That was a life-changing event for you. And I'm so happy to hear that it turned out the way that you needed it to.
Yeah, but I would not have done that if I had not felt depressed about my first two tests, and if I had not made such a huge mistake studying in the past, you know. So, and the funny thing is, you cannot learn mindfulness by somebody teaching it to you. You need to learn it by yourself. You need to realize that by yourself. You cannot just go, searching how to be mindfulness and pay for the course. It doesn't work like that. And yeah, I think that's how I changed my mindset. And after like February, I decided to give the GMAT one last attempt. And
So
I
was
decided,
this when you emerged from the monks, or was this did you spend all your time with the monks, or was there traveling within there? And at what point did you realize it's time to give it one last go?
I would travel back and forth, sometimes to the city because sometimes I miss the city. And if you live on the mountainside all day, the whole year, you would not. Sometimes I miss, the past, my city, my old self. That's why I left myself, back in the city. And I did not see the GMAT as an entrance test anymore. I saw that as an unfinished job that I knew that I could do better. I just have that belief in myself. And back in March, I would set myself that I would give that one last attempt in 3 months, or as long as I need. But this attempt, if I failed, then you know what, I want to give up, and I would not think about that anymore.
Gotcha. So you finally felt like you had a clear grasp of what the test was. You came to your spiritual moment. You said, "All right, I'm prepared. I'm ready to try and finish a job that should have been finished a little while ago." Okay, so you come back in February, which is, I think, by the way, based on the title of our session here that says GMAT 740, 2 months of prep. I have to assume that this is that portion of the story because we're into 2023 and now we're going to hear about the 2-month
Oh yeah, trust me.
sprint.
Mhm.
By the way, if anyone out there, before we get that, question for everyone out there, who should we invite to interview Evan? I thought we already had the interviewer picked out, but apparently not. So voice your opinion down below. And to answer everyone's question who asked, I'm going to Darden. I'm going to UVA.
Oh,
So
my friends go there.
I want to hear more about this friend, but let's focus
Just
on
me.
you. I just want to make sure I answered people's questions. What did you do when you first decided after this break to study? Was it going back to GMAT Club? Was it picking up some books? What did you decide was the most important factor to build upon and start so that way you were gonna finish strong here?
I got you. Before I start that, I just want to mention that the one thing that I learned with mindfulness, which I learned how to forget, because you know what, I have a good memory. If I learn something, I will not forget that for the next 5 or 6 years. But after learning mindfulness, I learned how to forget, which means I learned how to forget all about my mistake, all about how I approach the my past approach. And I started with the GMAT was the only memory that I knew how long the test was, and it has 4 sections, and I had forgotten everything. So the first one, I decided that I need a solid foundation. And like I say, I stopped studying. I go Google online, or and I found 2 resources, which I use only those 2. The first one was a long series a long time ago. It was Thursday with Ron. And
Oh yeah, Ron Perwall. Yep.
I think he got perfect on pretty much every test he took, but it was
Yeah,
important.
he used to work for GMAT. I forget who he works for now, but he's a pretty famous tutor.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, and I went on YouTube and I found the whole series, and I just decided, you know what? After this one, I think Thursday with Ron, and the second one was the GMAT Ninja, but it is the series on the GMAT Club, not the series on their channel.
Yeah, so GMAT Ninja is a user on GMAT Club. He
Yep.
is also a world-renowned tutor who's gotten perfect scores.
Yep. He
Charles,
loves
so his name is
food,
Charles
man.
Bibelos. He's
Yep.
an incredible human being. If you post questions on GMAT Club, he'll actually answer them. If you reach out to him personally, he'll respond. He is about as good of a guy, and frankly, he's probably I would classify as one of the foremost experts in the world on the GMAT. So, 2 great resources.
That's the only 2 you need. It's more than you need, actually, because I chose Ron with the RC. His RC was awesome.
Right.
RC,
We should specify that you were focusing on verbal. You were already at 50 or 51 quant. So you probably
Oh
needed.
no. I forgot all about quant, but I focused on the verbal because I know that was my weaker area.
Okay.
I would and I watched all of their videos. I spent like 5 or 6 or even 7, 8 hours watching the videos, and sometimes I watch some videos twice to get what they're saying. And the thing is, the first time I watched it, like in 2020, I didn't understand like half of them, like half of what they say. But now when I understand, I can, relate to them. I can understand what they say, what they try to express. I guess that's amazing for me. And I guess I was lucky in that way.
Why do you think that changed? Was it because of your mindfulness or was it something else?
I would definitely say that because I live slower. Because if I live faster, I would like put the video at 1.5 speed and rush them through, and I would not understand. You know what? He said that. Okay, let's moving on to the next video. But when I live slower, that's when I understand all of what they're saying, and I try to apply that to the OG questions, and that's how I get the solid foundation. I trust Ron with the RC and the CR. Those are the two of the strongest areas of Ron. And Charles, he's very strong in SC and CR too. And that's the only 2 I need.
What about me?
You awesome. Great interview.
No, I wrote a CR and RC guide.
You did?
I'm a verbal. Technically, I probably couldn't qualify as an expert anymore, but back in my heyday, yes, I I
Oh,
knew
I
what I
got to
was
be
talking
honest.
about.
I'm not a big fan of reading though, because like sometimes I read very slow, and that's why I'm trying to watch the videos because I learn better by listening. But if I read very slow, trust me. And sometimes I skip sentences, and sometimes I skip lines. It was very slow for me. So just listening.
So what you're saying is, and folks, this is also critically important to your success. You followed experts. You followed what experts were doing, how they solved things, how they went about it, and sort of their basic curriculum. Would you say it's a fair assessment?
Um, Half and half, because like I said, what worked for them might not work for you, and you just need to see and try what stick to you. And they have a lot of approaches, and you need to try it, because like let's say you have a unique approach that get you to 800, but if I tried it, maybe it's not for me. There's nothing I can do about that. So you have to move on. You know.
I will fully admit, I think Ron has an insanely high IQ.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt that.
Yeah, no, I think like in general, he's just a very smart human being. And Charles, I think Charles is right up there too. But Charles is significantly more better spoken in my view. Although I've never met Ron, I feel like he's more of like a robotic genius. I feel like Charles is more the verbal, like can actually communicate kind of genius. But
That's a human one.
but anyway, so please continue. I've interrupted you enough.
Where I was, I forgot.
We were talking about watching their videos and learning from them, and Charles was SC and CR, and Ron was RC and CR as their expertise.
I was lucky to meet Ron, because Ron also has dyslexia, which means he cannot read very fast. And he will show that the strat to read the RC, which is awesome. To grab the main idea, just black out all the details. You do not have to burden yourself with the details, because you can always go back and find them. But the main idea, which was the author would not, state it right there for you. So you need to see that to see the bigger picture. So if you guys have always been a detail like oriented, then the GMAT RC will be a big challenge for you guys. I promise.
Sound advice.
Yep.
So you spent 2 months doing this.
Yep. 2 months.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I mean I really spent like 1 month of just watching videos.
Which is building your foundation.
Yep.
So once you built your foundation, then you took a month to actually practice questions and to get yourself ready for the test.
I only spent 2 weeks actually.
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
2 weeks of practicing verbals and 3 days of practicing quant.
And what would you say felt different between your first 2 study attempts and this one?
Oh man, it was black and white.
Why?
Okay, let me tell you. The first thing that I do was I was not timing myself. I let myself go, and I decided if I get this right, I will get this right. Even in an hour for one question, I would do that. And I would not only study for the one why it was correct, I would study for the other 4 why it was wrong.
Yes.
It took me, 2 years to realize that it was it was such a long journey for me. And I would, for the CR especially, I would read the prompt, think about that, and I treat that it's a mini RC. I would not read the question. I would not read the answers. I would just read that 2 lines, 3 lines, and ask myself, like such as, what do we mean by that? And why is there a difference right here? And you need to come up with answers yourself. And this approach can be dangerous, because sometimes if you pre-think the answers, it will stick to that and ignore all the correct answers. So I would suggest that if you have an open mind, you can pre-think the answer. But if you do not have an open mind, then do not do that. Just go through the answers and access each one of them. And you do not finish the sentence. I mean, you do not finish a question until you figure it out why the other 4 are so obviously wrong that what, this one is 200% correct. I got it. I nailed it. And in case that some questions are too hard, and trust me, sometimes I do questions and two of the answers are equally good. I would just forget about that for a moment and walk back in like later in the day and think about that. And if I did not know how to do that, then I would give up because I had to face it. There's no way I'm going to do 100% of question correct 100%. You need to give up sometimes.
You had some humility to you there. I would just echo that is such an incredibly hard thing to learn. As I've said many times, everything about the GMAT, studying appropriately, is hard to learn. Studying effectively, meaning you know why the right answer is right and why the four answers are wrong. If you can do that for all five, for each question, or as many of them as you can, obviously there's a limit. No, nobody's superhuman. You're going to not only see all the tricks that the GMAT tries to get you to fall for, you're going to see all the patterns that they write the questions in. You're going to have a far more familiar and firmer grasp of the concepts, and you're going to be able to get through them so much faster and more efficiently and effectively.
Exactly.
Biggest thing, it's how you study. It's how you learn this test. So I couldn't be happier for you that you figured that out. At what point did you say, you know what, I'm ready for this thing? I'm ready to, give it a real go.
Right after the first week, after I watched the whole some of the videos, and I knew that my mind was so changed that I can absorb the knowledge, and I knew that I knew I could do it, and I did it. It was very easy for me too, because but if I could give you guys the tips for 3 sections, I can. Okay, so the RC, you always need to read the passage first. You never read the question first because if you read the question first, you will find only the details in the passage, and you will not read the other whole. So it was a big mistake. And to the CR, you don't need to study for it like as much as the RC, because I think it has like everyday life logic. You do not need to study for it. Just get rid of the RC, and you will get good at the CR eventually. And for the SC, just watch a lot of charts, videos, and he will explain all the nuance and how they check you. They have a very good solid though, and you too. Even I keep forgetting about you. It's so sad. And yeah, and I think that's the only thing I need. Just Thursday with Ron and GMAT Ninja. They have 4 seasons, and that's it. And then you go practicing only practicing the OG questions. Do not practice like non-OG. It was not good.
May I say a couple of things on that?
Yeah.
One, whenever I say Thursdays with Ron, I keep thinking Tuesdays with Ron, but that's because I read Tuesdays with Maury, which is it's a famous book around the these parts. I don't know if it's worldwide, but with respect to the OGs for verbal, I would say SC, yeah, OG like GMAT prep. You cannot go outside of the official items for SC. For CR and RC, OG GMAT prep, I would say LSAT is a brilliant.
I did that too. I forgot about that.
Yes.
But I would recommend only practicing the LSAT if you want to reach like 740 or 750 plus, because they are not easy.
Yes, you cry yourself to sleep quite a bit doing those questions.
Oh yeah, and sometimes you cannot get one of them right. And if you practice the LSAT, when you like do not have a solid foundation, it will not do you any good, because it will just not.
And I would agree with that. LSAT tend to be harder. They use logic, which LOGIC, but from the law school perspective, it's LAWGIC, logic. Lawyers don't have the best sense of humor, so they really go for the cheesy ones. They're difficult, but they really are brilliant, and they do help your score. I would say even if you're shooting for 700, which I think everybody is, leverage them because you can learn quite a bit. Someone asked, so that was on the verbal side. On the quant side, pretty much use anything in my view.
Yep.
It's very hard to screw up a quant-based question. Sophia, you asked, what about Manhattan prep, so GMAT? They're fine for mocks. So if you need a mock outside of the real ones that GMAT offers, I would say that's fine. I would not leverage the verbal questions only because I think we have like 3,000 LSAT questions. You do not need to go to GMAT.
No, definitely not.
But also, verbal is so easy to screw up. I've gone through Princeton. I've gone through, which I despise. I have gone through Kaplan, which I despise even more. I think both of them are actually kind of big sponsors of GMAT Club. From a verbal perspective, I poke holes in their questions all the time, saying, no, this could be this because you're making an assumption here, here, and here, and A, B, and D are right, but they're also wrong. Save yourself the headache. Don't use shortcuts. It will go nowhere. Stick to official sources for verbal always. So, sorry, long rant there, but Vu, you sat down on test day, you're feeling good, you're feeling strong, you've got this. Walk us through the test. Did you ever hit a wall? Did you ever feel like maybe things weren't going your way? Or was it smooth sailing and the score popped up and you just grinned and said, no, mission accomplished, job well done?
You know what? I knew that before I walked in the test day that I think I could nail this. Because I always prepare for the worst and hope for the best. So so I do the verbal first, and the quant, and the IR, and the AWA. So the verbal, I would prepare the RC first, and they throw me the RC first, the long RC too, like the first time, like it's a rematch. And
wait, it's deja vu. I've been here before.
Exactly. And they gave me 2 RC in a row. And I don't know, they very long too. And I was not panicked because I knew that I practiced at home. I knew myself, I knew my solid foundation, and I knew that the test, what they would contain. So I walked into the battle and I knew what they're going to give me. And actually, the actual test is not as hard as when I practice, which is good.
Always the goal.
Yep, exactly. And I did all the verbal with 15 minutes to spare, and I got a 40 verbal. I think I could slow down and maybe get a 42, but I would not complain about that.
Did you feel rushed on verbal?
Oh no, I was doing slowly and then still have 15 minutes to spare. I just sit there and take a break for myself.
You got a V40 and had 15 minutes at the end?
I did. Yep.
Wow. Holy heck. Yeah, you could have gotten a V50 if you had really slowed down. Like
I don't know about that, man, because like sometimes some of the question was so hard that I knew if I spend more time, I would not get that correctly.
Wow. Okay, that's just a ton of time. But still, 15 minutes. So you got a V40, and then you got a Q50, 51.
Oh, 50. Only second time was 51, 50. I think I missed 2 or 3 of them.
And you came out. You saw the score pop up, 740. How did you feel in that moment when the screen? For those of you who don't know how it works, you're sitting on the computer. You have to click yes, and you get a couple of screens.
And the score pop right off for you in front of your face.
Right. So you get a couple of screens, and then like yes, I agree, yes, and then there's your score.
Mm-hmm.
How did you feel in that moment?
Well, I would say
tell me you were disappointed, please.
I think I felt as expected because I knew that I could nail 740 or 750. Oh, and I also did the OG test, OG1 and OG2. I never had a chance to do the OG2 2 years ago. So the OG1 I redid, I got the 780, and the OG2.
So you did take a mock to see where you stood.
Yeah, I took 2 of them in a row in a day, and then I took the real test, the day after that.
Okay, yes, Vu did very well. I would not recommend taking 2 mock tests on the same day, let alone back to back. I would also not recommend you do 1 mock test, let alone 2, the day before an exam.
Exactly, because I just knew I ready, so I just want to confirm that. And I
That's
got
how
what?
burnout happens, buddy.
Yeah, no, no, trust me, I have built up my stamina, and on test day, I feel what, never better.
You're something else. Jeez. So you get your 740. You're elated. You're happy. Job's accomplished. What did you do after that? How did you celebrate?
I did not celebrate, sadly, because I just went home and I don't know, because I just feel calm in myself. I didn't know what's wrong with me, but I felt fine. I knew that I should have felt happy, but I felt, you know what? I prepared for that. I was at 740. That's according to my plan. So that's good.
Again, mission accomplished. Okay. Again, most people celebrate after studying for 2.5 years. Some don't. Some are just like, you know what? I did it. I'm gonna enjoy it. So before we wrap up here, I have two questions for you. One,
Yep.
I know that R1 applications are going to come due in a couple of months. Some schools, mine as well, have opened up their applications. And yes, I will wave the Darden flag and say that I love the school and hope that everyone here ends up applying if they feel they can get in. What are your future plans? What schools are you targeting? How are you writing your essays now? What is VU up to?
Actually, I don't know if I'm gonna apply this year. Um,
Which is okay. It is
mhm.
very much okay to say, you know what, I just went through a heck of a journey. It's time to take a step back.
Yeah, and but I might this year or next year. It will depends on because I do not want to rush my essays and my applications, and I knew that the B school had a lot to to demand, like the rec letters, the essays, the resume, and and I have what 2 or 3 months, and let's see how it goes.
As you discussed earlier, you've learned to slow down,
Yep,
not be in a rush. Do you know what schools, if any, you'll be applying to?
applying to, yes, I would like a school in a big city because back in college I also was in
No.
I studied in the Philadelphia. It was a big city, and why do you say oh?
Oh, that Charlottesville's out. No, you're not coming to UVA with me.
Oh, I might. Who
That's not a
knows?
big city. That's a
No,
college town, buddy.
I know. Maybe a big cities, but I don't know because I need to research the schools, and I need to research what their people like and the cultures. The most important one to me is the cultures. If I don't like it, then I'm not going to go there.
Which is a very fair assessment. By the way, Boston has MIT, and I want to say there's another one that's crimson colored, but it's not coming to mind, so I won't mention it. But New York, you have Columbia, so CBS, you
Yeah,
have NYU.
yeah,
Obviously, Pennsylvania has UPenn.
yep.
Plenty of great schools in big cities. So I'm out of questions at this point. I want to leave it open to you to tell our audience any last remarks, anything you feel that they should learn or no key takeaways that we didn't hit on. Now's your time to now's your time to elaborate on that.
Sure. Um, well, I knew that I myself and some of you guys, if not most of you guys, sometimes felt stuck when studying for the GMAT, and you felt that there's nothing you can study more to improve on. So just slow down and have a solid foundation and be patient. And the most important one is you do not in denial. If you deny yourself that if you just keep rushing through life and you not slow down and think and study and have a solid foundations, you will eventually study the GMAT for your whole life and not going anywhere. And if you study it right, it will take you, promise you, at most 5 6 months to get the 740, 730. And just be patient and do not make mistake as I am.
How's that for inspiration, folks? And as Fu said, denial isn't just a river in Africa. Egypt. Egypt's in Africa. My 6th grade geography teacher's going to be pissed off at me. But couple quick questions. Harshit says, "Hi Vu, could you please tell how you did revision of topics and concepts and made notes that way you didn't forget them while you were doing your preparation?"
Oof, that was a long sentence. Let me read it again. it was been a while since I've done the SC on GMAT. Made the notes.
Basically, what he's saying is, how did you take notes while you were learning concepts?
I got you. I didn't because
Okay then.
Yeah. So for the RC, I mean, there's nothing you can note down. I mean, the RC, they teach you how to reach for the big ideas. I mean, do not study mechanically. If you do that, you're gonna fail. Just have to develop that intuition, understanding, and it will be fine.
I'm an advocate of notes, but that's just me. Golden Brown. Some funky names going on here. We have the Music Lover 0101 and Golden Brown and Shrek. Just a very, very interesting collection of folks. Golden Brown asks, any advice for me? I spent too much studying grammar for SE and I'm still not confident. I have to take the GMAT by the end of this month, July 31st. Any advice to speed up the prep for RCCR and Quant?
Oof. I would not like the word speed up because that's how I got in trouble in the first place. Yeah, so if you study 2 months and still not confident, it's an abstract terms. Can you show me the concrete terms that the score improves, the score, not improve? You know what? Maybe if you do not feel confident, but you do it well, you don't know. So you need to translate that into the test, the practice test terms. And please do not rush any part of the GMAT exams because if you rush it, you're going to take it again pretty soon.
I'll lend my 2 cents here. Golden Brown, if you are still with us, not that you have gone to the big doggy bed in the sky. At least I hope not. For SC, Vu already mentioned the fact that GMAT Ninja is on the forum. If you follow him and follow how he answers questions and watch his videos, I think that'll go a tremendous amount towards helping you. I personally recommend Manhattan GMAT's SC book. It's pretty concise, a lot of straightforward rules in there. RCNCR, I may be biased here, but read my guides. I wrote 2 guides when I actually had a brain and I actually knew what I was doing. So I would recommend those, along with following our verbal experts. And then Quant, very similar. If you are struggling with Quant and self-prep isn't helping you, I look into one of our one of the either prep companies on the forum and see which one fits you best with a trial, or Bunel, who is a quantitative genius, who I'm sure Vu followed and knew quite well, has written a book on every topic of GMAT in terms of Quant. That would be a good place to start as well, to try and maybe beef up your fundamentals and see how a literal mathematical genius goes about studying and goes about answering and thinking about problems. The Music Lover 0101, again, one of those funky names. Apparently it's from middle school, says that your story is very inspirational. Ray, you asked how you go from a 6.9 to 700 plus. If you're at 690, and it's not luck, you're just making silly mistakes to not be at a 700. Or no, you need to focus on the more complex components of the test and make sure that you're practicing those. But in general, if you're there, you're there. I mean, that razor thin margin between 690 and 700.
It was so close.
I'm sorry?
No, I say 690. It is so close to 700. You just need a little bit more.
Exactly. Sophia said, "Is your name Wu
Wang?
Wang or Wong?" I've heard it pronounced both ways. Is that you?
Wait, is Wang Chinese? I think I'm not Chinese though.
No. See, you're allowed to make that joke.
Exactly.
Do people want to? Do you want people to connect with you if they have follow-up questions?
Yes, but
you can say no. It's okay. You can say, you know what, guys, I want my privacy.
No, definitely yes, but just that I don't have that many communications methods.
So
except
how would you
for
recommend people get in touch with you?
probably GMAT DMs and then probably emails
Do you
because my
mind?
link
Do you mind? It could be LinkedIn, or we could put your GMAT Club ID, whatever works for you.
GMAT Club ID is awesome.
What is your GMAT ID? Hang on. Vu's
I forgot. Hold
GMAT
on.
ID.
I can copy paste in here.
Oh yeah, please do. So while Vu was doing that, Sophia, you asked the quant expert's name. His name is Brunel. That is, or her name. Well, there's still speculation as to Brunel's gender. He, she is a man or woman of mystery, and some speculate it is a supercomputer programmed by GMAT Club. I couldn't agree more with that sentiment. It's a very real possibility that he, she, it is, given how amazing Brunel is at quant. It's borderline insane, the mathematical approaches that Brunel comes up with. So leverage he, she, him, it. All these pronouns. I'm getting tongue tied. To the fullest extent of GMAT Club. That's why Brunel does it. Brunel loves the engagement and loves to know that they're helping you guys flourish in quant. That's all I have today. Vu, one last question before we wrap up here. You're a very mindful gentleman who's had a lot of introspection, so you know who you are, what you're doing, where you're going. You got a great GMAT score, so you're clearly an intelligent fellow. You know, you're not bad looking. I say from the heterosexual perspective that I am straight. For the women in this chat for future videos, are you single?
Sadly not. I think my girlfriend is watching right now.
Oops. I'm sorry. I was gonna try and set him up. I was gonna try and say, flood his DMs. Don't do that. I'm sorry. Is your girlfriend? Wait, has she been commenting at all?
I don't think so. She's just watching.
Well, yeah.
The funny thing is, she doesn't understand English, so she had no idea what I'm saying.
Thank goodness. I get enough threatening messages and emails on GMAT Club. By the way, I read all your fan mail and your hate mail. Every single message that comes through, I do read and respond to. What would be one more piece of hate mail saying, "How dare you try and set my boyfriend up with somebody else?" And I can answer this question. Vu did not. He only took 1 and 2.
Yep, that's literally free one. I take 1 and 2 is free. You had to pay for the rest.
Yes, and sometimes that can be a turnoff for some folks.
Oh yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to put my ID here as well, so that way, if any of you have questions, you can message me on GMAT Club. Reach out anytime. As I said, I do respond to all questions, all comments, all queries, all messages. So do not hesitate. But we've been now going for well over an hour. Vu has stuff to do on this lovely Saturday, as do I. I have a life. I can't spend all day talking on YouTube to this lovely, very supportive, and very engaging audience. So from myself, for Vu, and from everyone else at GMAT Club, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here on this Saturday. Pay attention to our future videos. I've been bullied into saying by our producers to like and subscribe to our page so we can continue our content, which I hate doing because it sounds so ridiculously just robotic and just shill. Like, if you guys like our stuff, you'll subscribe anyways. I don't need to say it. My debrief will come at some point. I believe it'll be by GMAT Ninja, Charles Bibelos, who we have talked about a couple of times here today. But we shall see. If you folks feel differently and it should be by somebody else, voice your opinion. But we hope to see you here for future events, and look forward to interacting with you in at future videos. So again, take care, everybody.